What happens when two of the most plugged-in people in digital care team up to help you make sense of the chaos? Welcome to Control Plus Care. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Katie.
This is your weekly briefing on the most important digital care updates. We're unpacking what you need to know this week in under 30 minutes. But first, how are you, Katie?
I'm really good. Just found out that our producer, Rihanna, did spoken word poetry, and that has made my whole day. Incredible. How are
For
you?
those of you who haven't met Rihanna yet,
Mm-hmm.
this will not be a surprise, but is nonetheless impressive.
Very impressive. And she does a great job with this as well.
Yes, she does. Keeps us on track-ish, as well as anyone can.
Yeah, we do need to be railroaded into keeping to time. And how are you, Michelle?
Good. Week 3 of the summer holidays. Not that I'm counting down, but week 3, halfway through.
You're looking well. You're surviving.
It's a lot of makeup.
Good. Okay. For anybody who's just an audio listener, Michelle looks fine, just to say.
Mentally clinging on by my bare teeth. But this week I did get to go to London. Last couple of weeks we've not gone anywhere. Because I did some guest lecturing.
Wow, how was that?
It was so much fun. It was a group of international students, and it's the topic we aren't talking about today. I was lecturing on AI in business transformation, specifically in social care. So we got, a really good opportunity to show them, firstly, the world of social care, and then all the exciting things that potentially are happening.
Sounds amazing, but sadly we did make a promise to not talk about AI this week. So maybe one for next week to take us through properly.
We'll talk about that next week. And we do promise that we are going to keep the promise of not talking about AI. That doesn't really count because it was the chit chat. But in terms of everything else, AI is dead to us.
Absolutely. AI doesn't exist this week.
Which does beg the question, what are we going to talk about?
We have a special guest this week who's going to help us keep our promise to not talk about AI. And that's going to be our colleague, Cyber Sam.
Yes. He's going to come and talk to us about some big cyber news which has happened and help us understand what it means for the sector.
Exactly. And he's been given very strict instructions about the parameters of this podcast. And as a more technical person, is going to break it down into very small words so we can follow what's actually happening.
He does it for us all the time and he is very good at it.
Hi, Sam.
Good to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
We just wonder if you want to start, Sam, then, by introducing yourself.
Yeah, of course. My name is Sam. I am officially the technical cyber lead for Digital Care Hub, but most people just know me as Cyber Sam because that's too much of a mouthful to know what I do. I'm an ethical hacker, worked all over the place, and really love the social care sector, and now trying to help build resilience wherever I can, and scaring people.
You don't scare us. You're very good at not scaring us, actually.
For anyone who's listening who might not know what an ethical hacker is, do you want to just briefly touch on what that is? Sam?
Yeah, good shout. So you all probably know what a hacker is. Those are the people that break into your systems and try and make money out of it, or try and make a political statement. They generally break the law. An ethical hacker does the same thing, but with permission. And we have a code of conduct, and we do follow the law.
That's even better to know.
Absolutely, yes. I did work with the police for a year, so I am very, very comfortable with what I can and can't do.
Good to know, given you work with us, I think.
Yeah.
Gives me comfort, for one thing.
Yes.
Fab. Well, we've got you here today to talk about some cyber news. So why don't you take us through what's going on in the world this week?
Yeah, so there was quite a big thing that came out that I noticed. You might not have heard. There's just a company called Coveware have come out with their quarterly report. And one of the big things that I noticed in that, by the way, it's called the organisational structure of ransomware threat actor groups is evolving before our eyes, which is an absolute ridiculously long title of something, but it does have some really interesting points in there. The main one that I wanted to sort of shout out is the size. One of the issues with cyber is when you talk to people, it's something over there. It's too big. It's something that's aimed at the larger companies, the big groups. It's not aimed at me. I'm a small company or a sole trader or something. Whereas this, I'm pointing at my screen over there, but that's where the report is at the moment. Whereas this actually shows that it's not quite how we thought it was. As I say, we always used to think if you're too small, you're not going to be targeted. This is at Microsoft and large things like that. I'm so sorry, I'm just trying to find it now. There we go. So, one of the big things that shocked me was yes, large organizations are targeted, but the biggest targeted area is broken down. This will be in the show notes. Is broken down 101 to 1,000 and 11 to 100. So you've got nearly 70%. I realize you can't see this, but around about 70% of successful ransomware attacks are on small and medium organizations, and not, as we sort of assume, on the large ones like NHS, Microsoft, and stuff like that. They are targeted and they make the news, but it's the smaller organizations that are the most targeted. And the reason for that is that the hackers basically understand that those defenses aren't there, and it's easier to break through. So it's size does matter, but it's not as we thought it was, unfortunately. And they are targeting much smaller organizations.
Which for a sector like social care, where 85% of our sector is SMEs.
When I worked with the police, the big thing that we targeted was SMEs, which not necessarily social care, although that did obviously overlap. And the big issue we had was the communication to SMEs. As I say, they don't understand all these threats out there because they don't need to understand it all. However, as we're learning in the cyber industry, those are the people that those hackers are going to unfortunately target, because they don't have those defenses. They don't always patch everything. And the number one way that these hackers are going to get in using this ransomware stuff is weak passwords, badly used software. You've seen Windows 10 is disappearing soon. If you don't update to Windows, I guarantee there'll be all the ransomware groups and hackers just waiting for that to drop out of a service so they can jump on all the vulnerabilities that'll start to come up from that.
If Windows 10 disappearing is news to you, we do have lots of resources on the website, so please do visit. We'll put that in the show notes as well, because the impact of that can't be underestimated, especially in a sector where, whilst we don't have masses of legacy tech, the space in which tech is relevant is much, much shorter, which means a lot of people who feel like they've got relatively up-to-date systems will be operating on Windows 10. Okay, fabulous. So I guess the thing about this is, one of the big messages we always have from the Better Security, Better Care program is that do the things that you can do. Put in place the measures that are possible. And, you've just mentioned their weak passwords. Do we have any good password advice we can give people, Sam?
Yeah, so the big clue is entropy, which is complication, but you don't have to look at that. NCSC says use 3 random words, and that's fantastic. I can break into fairly easy passwords. If it's just 6 characters or something, it'll take me an hour to guess. It doesn't matter how many characters it is or stuff like that. 3 random words is easy for you to remember and hard for me using a computer to break into. So something like that. But basically length. Make sure it's longer than 8 characters. 12 is even better. Use a password manager because it makes it much easier for something else to remember it. Because, we all have like 50, 60 different accounts trying to remember things from. That's impossible as human beings, so a password manager is really good. But yeah, 3 random words is a nice, easy way to have a complex password that's almost certainly not going to be breached by somebody like me.
And then, because it's ransomware that this report is talking about, I saw, I don't know if it was last week or the week before in the news about how the government's going to ban public sector organisations from paying ransomware fines. But obviously in our sector, a lot of organisations, private, voluntary sector, so don't necessarily have that guidance. So if somebody was to fall victim of a ransomware attack, might be tempted to pay that fine just because you need access to your data, what would your advice be to them?
My advice, very obviously, matches with the UK government, probably our advice and everything else. Don't pay it. I mean, for a start, just ethically, you are giving money to criminal gangs. They don't always just do ransomware. They can do all sorts of horrible things behind the scene. But also, just on the ransomware part, the decryption that they use. So they're going to steal something from you, which is your data, and until you pay them, they won't give it back. That's the threat. The trouble is that they don't have the skills necessary anymore to unencrypt that quite often. There's about 60% of victims don't get their stuff back, even if they do pay, which is why really nicely, I say nicely, none of it's nice, but we have seen a massive decline in ransomware gangs actually being paid because a lot of the time they don't have the development skills to be able to unencrypt what they've just encrypted. They can break things, but they can't put them together back afterwards. And if you do 5 different victims and 4 of them says, I've paid you and I still haven't got everything back, nobody else is going to pay them.
I didn't know that. I just presumed they didn't because they're the bad guys. I didn't realize it was like a technical deficit.
So that's what's in this report as well. And the technical deficit has massively risen. So it used to be around about 85% of people paid because it was fairly new. This is back in like 2009, so and you can see the trend coming up to now as it's just massively decreased because there's a skill shortage in cyber in the clear world, the real world that we live in. Exactly the same in the criminal enterprise. Now, just obviously, I don't know if you know this, but cybercrime is the 3rd largest economy in the world, behind America and China. Let me find it.
I knew it was big, but that's enormous.
Yeah, it's worth 9.5 trillion as of last year.
When you said as well that this report was called The Evolving Organisational Structure of Ransomware Actors as well, I didn't realise that it meant the literal organisational structure of a criminal gang and that they had workforce gaps. So
yeah, workforce gaps, falling out. One of the big things that's happened that this report highlights is the fallings out, the politics of the small p within those companies. Black Bastard, one of the big gangs that used to like run on ransomware, completely fell apart because they hated each other. They were generally working and living in Moscow, but some of them says like, oh, we should only go after these targets, and other people, well, no, we should go after these are fair game, these aren't. Then the Ukrainian war happened and that split them again, because all these things affect people just as it affects everyone else. And then somebody released all their names, their chat logs and stuff like that, and they just disappeared. And also,
you know what? It brings to mind. So whenever I talk to anyone about boards, as you're moving into like the not-for-profit space, into public sector, and people are like, oh, I'm really intimidated by a board. I always say, look, every board is essentially an allotment committee deciding on who's got towards other seeds this year. And it turns out cybersecurity is just the same.
It's with more doxing of each other, I guess, at the end of it.
It is. It's just a lot of school playground, but with a lot more acronyms, as far as I can tell. That's basically what it is. But yeah, the other big thing is the National Crime Agency. And to be fair, particularly the UK have done well with this, is actually taking down criminal gangs. You saw the M&S and Co-op, scattered spider, like people that got caught. Well, one of the big things, the big draws to cyber criminality is it's anonymous. You make money and you're completely anonymous. The National Crime Agency, different forces in the UK, Interpol, have started to really go out of the way to go, here's the people that have done this. This is a 17-year-old, this is a 21-year-old, this person from here. That strips away that anonymity and adds to that skill gap that these cybercriminals cannot, basically recruit.
Yeah, because it was always interesting, I guess, when I first joined the world of cyber and someone explained to me that, just as we have SaaS, so software as a service, ransomware as a service is an off-the-shelf product, which means that the entry level of cyber criminals is not someone who actually can do that much in terms of hacking or development or software. It is literally your ability to pay some Bitcoin to a system that someone else will provide for you, and then you just implement it. So, I mean, do you know when you kind of feel like all the pieces are kind of joining together a little bit here? So this report's really enlightening, because I think one of the challenges we have when we talk to social care providers about cyber is, as you said at the start, it feels scary, it feels far away. But the more we can just emphasize that it's just as human as every other industry, and therefore just as flawed, and therefore just as weak, that is the way to kind of see cyber as not something that, is this mystical force that is delivered to your computer, but actually there are people in the background of this, and there are an awful lot of people on the other side working to combat it.
100%. And we nerds, that's what I like to class myself as, absolutely love this stuff. Like I mean, this is a hobby that I've managed to turn into a job, so I absolutely love it. But yeah, you are right. It can be a scary thing that's over there. And it's not. It's real people. There's some nasty people. There's some interesting people, but it is just people. And the technical stuff is a very small part of how things are broken into. A lot of it is, as you've spoken about before, social engineering. I'm really sorry. I know you said you wouldn't talk about it. AI is helping with that at the moment. I know.
Somebody sound a klaxon.
Okay,
It wasn't us.
Sam doesn't count. He didn't make the promise.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
that's
didn't make
good,
a
yeah.
promise.
But yeah, a lot of it is social engineering. It's stuff, it's risk awareness of the things that everybody does anyway. That's it. A lot of cyber is common sense with stupid acronyms. And you already know all this stuff. Like when you risk assess, you know if there's a power cut, I do this and this. It's just that some of the terms are new. Ransomware, viruses, Trojans, all this kind of stuff. But it's a similar kind of threat to would you let somebody come in and steal your parcels, and how you like keep your house. I like to think of cyber a bit like house burglars going down the street and checking all the different houses out, which one he's going to steal from. Okay, and some of them have like bars and windows and CCTV, and some of them everything is absolutely open. You just have to make sure that you make a tiny adjustment. Make sure that your PIN number is 6 digits instead of 4. Make sure that when you walk away from your computer, you lock it. Make sure that annoying update that you do occasionally push, please update for me, because it's important and it does patch a lot of things. Those little tiny steps are enough to thwart, oh, that was a good word, thwart the vast majority of these kind of attacks that are happening out there.
Do what brownie points because twice today my laptop has asked me to update in between doing things and I've let it.
Nice.
I didn't even say remind me later.
It may have pushed postpone, but that's only because it was when we started recording this. I will do it afterwards.
It always happens just as you're about to do something or just as you're live doing something.
Exactly.
Which is why we've got Cyber Sam to keep us on track.
Thank God, honestly.
Someone in the team to remind us all just how important this stuff is.
Like the
And I'd like
mosquito in the room sometimes going, don't forget this, turn on your MFA, what are you doing?
We all need it, much like we have Rihanna to keep us on track with the podcast. We've got you to keep on track with all of our cyber security issues. I think, Sam, you also wanted to talk about the CrowdStrike report. Is that as well?
Yeah, so the CrowdStrike, I feel bad, I haven't actually read this yet.
Okay, never mind. Okay, we can
It's been released and it's usually a really good read because it deep dives into the actual ransomware gangs, what they're doing, where they're based, whether it's money, whether it's political and all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And is that just for the UK or is that a global report?
No, that's a big global thing. It's kind of annoying. A lot of cyber stuff, unfortunately, is still American. I think we were chatting about it earlier. There's a lot of Americanisms in cyber because that's a lot of where it is. Although we are getting much better in this country, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Well, we have some really skilled people in this area. Luckily, we get to work with an awful lot of them doing the work that we do. People who really are at the forefront of cyber defense and cyber resilience. It's very exciting.
Social care, sorry, I'm just like blow social care's horn for a minute. That's not a phrase, but I'm saying it anyway. I came from fintech, which is financial tech, and then banking and stuff like that, which was big, scary nation state and stuff like that. And I came to social care and NHS, and I kind of assumed that digital maturity was fairly low. That's what I came in expecting. And it's been incredible, like working with social care, especially if I go to actual like providers and stuff like that. Their hunger for the knowledge and the change and the things that's happening. And obviously it makes sense now that I know the industry a little bit, but obviously coming into it from an outsider was a bit daunting. But it's just incredible workforces out there that are just doing things constantly. And as well as firefighting, they are absolutely innovating at the same time. It's just it's a really nice industry to work in. So thank you for welcoming me to it.
Well, we're glad you're here, Sam. Obviously, Casey and I are the biggest advocates of social care. And I think the really nice thing is all of the people who work in this cyber space, in the digital space, really understand that isn't what people are here to do. That isn't their primary reason for being in social care. The reason is they're here to support people, and that the tech and the cyber are all just tools to help that happen. And that, for me, feels like a real kind of like core purpose achieved, if we're getting that right.
Definitely. And people have also just really sort of like seized onto this and realized, okay, we do need to take steps. We need to protect the people that we're supporting. It's their data. This is part of our sort of duties towards supporting people and helping people. And you could see that reflected by how quickly we've seen uptake of tools like the Data Security Protection Toolkit. So I think we spoke on a pod a couple of weeks ago about nearly 80% of all care providers in England are now completing it. Just absolutely huge proportions of what is a very large sector who have been told about this sort of strategically from like a national level, maybe for about the last 4 years or so, and have gone, right, okay, we have to get on that, do we? And it can seem scary. It's not easy to do it, but with resources, with support, have asked for what they need, and that's there. And I think that's just been such huge progress.
Yeah, it's just that real, like, roll up your sleeves, do what needs to be done, because we've got to keep this service going for all the people that rely on it. And I love that about it.
Definitely.
Well, I tell you what, that has been really great to have you on. And I think in the future, we might have you come back again, Sam, and talk to us whenever there is exciting cyber news, because I think Katie and I can talk about it ad nauseum, but having your ethical hacker hat on and having you talk to our audience as well is really useful. But before we let you go, we are introducing a new segment to the podcast this week, actually named for something that you introduced us to. So this is the Cyber Squirrel portion of the show. And what we want to do is just quickly share one fun tech story from the last week. So Katie's found one that she wants to share, and I'm hoping you've got something too.
Yeah. So I am very excited about this. It's come from, I saw it on Women's Hour, actually, because I am cool and young, obviously. But this is a story about somebody called Grumpy Gran 1948. And she is a 76-year-old Scottish woman who has taken to streaming Fortnite on Twitch. For anybody who doesn't use Twitch, that's something similar to YouTube, but it's where all of the young gamer type people are. Teenagers will know what it is and can explain. I don't personally use it, so that's about as much as you're getting from me. She's got 22,000 followers who watch her live streaming this video game. She found out about it because her grandson was playing it. She watched him play, and then she wanted to give it a go. And he basically said, "No, Gran, you absolutely can't do this." So she went, as any strong woman would do, well, I'm definitely doing it this, and taught herself to play Fortnite, taught herself how to stream it. She's on Women's Hour talking about this segment about how she's found community there. She talks to people online all of the time, and she lives in quite a rural community, and how amazing it has been, and getting to speak to people from lots of different generations. And I just love this story. I just think it's so great, and I might need to follow Grumpy Gran 1948.
I have never considered playing Fortnite or getting on Twitch, but she would get me up there. And how great is that for our demographic?
Right?
You know, we work in social care. We talk about the social isolation of older people. We talk often about the digital skills of older people, and she is flooring us all.
Well, now if she goes into a residential care at any point, heaven forbid they don't have good internet, right? They're going to need to let her have streaming quality internet connectivity wherever she goes
This is
into
my
a care home.
dream. Eventually, I'm going to open a super cyber like a care home. Great internet, arcade games, a bar, the lot.
Just a load of elderly ethical hackers
That's
thwarting
it.
attacks. I mean, that's got a sitcom written all over it.
I would absolutely watch that sitcom. That sounds amazing.
Brilliant. Thanks, Katie.
That's all right. Sam, did you have one?
I do. So I really liked this one. So this is from the Register, which is, if anybody looks at it, it's a big tech cybery type thing that comes up with news. And on Friday, Kawasaki and Foxconn have built a robot nursing assistant to tackle hospital scut work. And it's incredible, like this little thing. It's not going to come out till next year and stuff like that. It's basically designed to do the busy work, so it's not there to take over any jobs in nursing whatsoever. It's to run around with like meals, medicines, and stuff like that. What I really like about it is that it's got a big friendly face on the front. And I was just wondering, I was like, obviously from my mindset, I was like, if I could hack into that, I could change the face into different things. So it could be like, you know, really angry when I get out of bed, or really friendly at some point. Change it to a little cute animal when it goes to like a children's ward or something like that. But I just do love the idea that this kind of technology that used to be just in films, from my head, is is coming out now. Like this thing can count medicines. It's got it's not, there's not mentioning the word. It's not that kind of thing, but it's controllable from like a nurse's station, and it's just there to give an extra pair of hands to like people who are running around. So if the call button goes off 4 times in a row, and one of them is just like, oh, I want a new pillow, you can send the robot to go and do that.
Brilliant. I mean, I say this all the time. I am all for any tech that lets people do the people stuff and the tech takes care of everything else. And this sounds like it fits the bill.
Yeah, and I haven't yet clicked on the link to look at it. In my mind, it's like what the cute robot in Big Hero 6, which is a truly adorable movie. So I have high hopes that that's sort of the vibe we're getting from it.
Actually, it does remind me a bit of those janitor things that they wheel around a bit. It does look a bit like that to my mind, with a tablet with a face on it. But I think that's just first impression.
Fair enough. And I think there is some interesting stuff around robotics. I was lucky enough to go to the States a couple of years ago and talk to one of the big retirement community operators there. And they had started having server robots. So they don't have a face or anything. It's just an automatic tray, basically, which can wheel around. And I still think we're some way off having them in this country, if nothing else, because most of the buildings we're using are way too narrow to fit a server robot down. But what they were telling me was actually they're leasing these like robot servers, and then they could let go some of the part-time staff who just came in to run meals during the sort of lunchtime. But then they could increase the pay for full-time staff who got to sit down and have meals at lunch with the people that they were supporting. So you have more of that community enjoyment. They got a pay rise, and the robots were the ones who were just running backwards and forwards with the dirty plates and that sort of thing. And I was like, oh, you know what? That doesn't sound dystopian at all, actually. That sounds quite lovely. So maybe I'm more pro-robotics than I thought I was.
Pro-robotics, as long as the people are still there too. So that model sounds brilliant to me. It's when it's only robot servers.
Yeah, full replacement. No.
That's where it gives me the heebie-jeebies. So I'm staking my pin in the ground that's when I'm like, not for me anymore. But I think we definitely should do a future episode on robots because it's really interesting.
Definitely need to do something more on robots.
Well, with that, I guess that's a wrap for us this week. Do come back next week when AI will be back on the table. Tell your colleagues who are super interested, please. You can find us anywhere that you find podcasts.
And links to everything that we and Sam discussed today will be in the show notes. And I think we all deserve a pat on the back for barely mentioning artificial intelligence. Well done us.
Yay.
So what happens when two plugged-in people, and Seb as Sam, team up to demystify digital care? You get control plus care.
Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts. Links to everything discussed today will be in the show notes.
Tell a colleague, especially if they're considering joining a ransomware gang.